All right, so I am smiling or cheesing for two reasons. I'm only going to touch up on one of them, okay? But the other reason, I will very briefly talk about the other reason why I was cheesing so hard, okay? Just check out my latest post for September 9th, 2025. Check that out. You'll understand the context because you'll get the hint. But anyways, I got a job now. Yeah. I've been unemployed for 3 days and I got a job. That is the fastest I have ever switched jobs or hopped a job. All right. The first time around the first gap I had when it comes to hopping to another job was, was it 2 weeks? I think it was either 2 or 3 weeks. I'm gonna have to check my check my photos, because that's when I transitioned from Amazon warehouse in the city outskirts of Chicago, Illinois, to the city outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia. So yeah, I think I'm gonna say it's probably at max a month. That was the transition. All right, and then obviously I quit that job for a little bit. And then after 9 months of that gap took like 9 to 10 months or whatever. Yeah, I think it was 9 months. Because I was looking for, still looking for jobs, but nobody was hiring. But the same grocery store and, the city outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia, hired me. Again, they rehired me because they insisted they wanted me back. Because I remember the front end backup manager was like, "You want your job back, Ray Marco? I'll give you all the cashier experience you want, and everything." And she really, I received favoritism there. So there's that. So yeah, 9 month gap of no job. Yeah, I think it's a 9 month gap of no job. Yeah, it's around there, but yeah. And then I quit that job, last year, around like June 28th, 2024. I moved here, and it was, I think, it was a month gap, 1 month gap between my grocery store job, my former grocery store job, and my job here at FedEx warehouse. All right, so yeah. And then now, I recently quit them, like literally a few days ago. Today is the 9th of September 2025, and I quit it at September 6th, 2025. 3 days ago, literally 3 days ago. All right, I did not have a job lined up, and nothing like that. Nothing was lined up, nothing. All right, and yeah, that day I've decided, I had enough of FedEx warehouse. They bullshitting with my attendance, following their attendance policy, pushing it to the limits or whatever. I was sick of micromanagement and everything, this, that, and other. I just simply had enough. I was like, I'm gonna work one more month here, and then I'm just gonna quit. But I realized, obviously, it was gonna fall on my birthday. So yeah, I realized that my working there was gonna fall on my birthday. And I said, wait a minute, I want to be off on my birthday. But wait a minute, I have to work. I can't call off for nothing no more, because if I miss one more day, I'm gone. They're gonna give me the boot. So I'm just thinking, should I work on my birthday or not? Which was yesterday, by the way. I'm 26 years old. And then I was just thinking, I'm just thinking in my head, like, you know what? I made my final decision. I'm done. I'm quitting them. I don't even care if I don't have a job lined up. So yeah. So then there's that part. I quit them and all. 3 days ago, I worked my last shift under my original manager. Honestly, I thought he would have been a little shocked that I was quitting. I'm not gonna lie, I thought he was. But he kind of the way how he acted, it was like he didn't care. All right, yeah. But like I said, I guess I felt the energy with him, and I guess it was consistent. Like I said, I did, was prejudged him. I misunderstood him. Yes, he was cool, but at the same time, that manager, his age was showing because he was 38 years old. Because I saw the cool culture with him, and yeah. So that's the only thing That's the only regret I have as far as calling off on his days. Okay, because his demeanor gave authoritative vibes, but he was still cool with it though. But when I worked my last shift, it was like swipe out. Then I just gave him my ID from FedEx warehouse. All right, it was nice working with you. I found today was my last day, and I found a new job, and that was it. And then he just looked for the resignation letter thing, resolution form. I guess he couldn't find one, so he just told me to just go ahead and call it, just make sure I swipe out. Like, he didn't shake my hand, nothing like that. So I'm like, dang, this is not exactly the way how I thought it was going to be. I thought he was going to be a little shocked because apparently I was one of his favorite workers or whatever. But there's that. I will say I did not really end well with SARS FedEx warehouse, but neither do I really care. So there's that part. So, yeah. I couldn't find a resignation. The manager, he could not find my former original manager. He could not find the resignation form. So they just told me to call. So the next day I called and I was like, thank you for the opportunity of me working here. Shout out to this manager. Shout out to that manager. Blah, blah, blah. There's that. Okay. For being cool and all. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity. And that was it. And then next, a few hours later, I saw that they removed my shifts from there. So tomorrow will be my last paycheck for them. So I should probably get a max. I need to have at least $120. Okay. Yeah, my last check will be smaller because they removed me for those shifts. So yeah, since I resigned. So yeah, and I was like, I resigned effective immediately. Yesterday was my last day. Me no longer working here is effective immediately. So yeah, that was that. So yeah, I told them if they need to call me for anything else, that's fine, but whatever. They didn't call me. I think I'd rather keep it that way, but because I'm just done with FedEx warehouse. But anyways, going as far as now, 3 days, literally 3 days ago, I quit my job with nothing lined up, and I lied. I was lying to people, telling people I had a new job. All right, I was lying to people, but look how quick I got this new job. Yes, I got the grocery store job. I'm gonna be the produce associate. Yeah, I'm glad. And that's the thing. This job, I already knew. I already, like I said, I worked for this company before. I knew I was really good at my work, and I had such great accolades. Yeah, such great accolades with my work with the grocery store up in the city outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia. So I was confident I was gonna get the job. So my second to last day, I had an interview. I went to the interview. You saw that video. Then I said the interview went well. All right. And then the produce manager told me I should be hearing back from the HR pretty soon. If not, I was supposed to hear from her yesterday, but I didn't. So here's the request for that. I heard from her today. All right, I heard from her today, from the HR. Today. All right. Yes, she was a day late, but that's cool. It is what it is. I received a call back while I was in the middle of doing Uber Eats because I thought, hey. And then she told me that, just come in Thursday for orientation, and there we go. And then I work my early morning shifts. So yeah, I got a new job. I've been unemployed for 3 days. Technically, it's gonna be 4 days if I conclude tomorrow, but 3 days. 3 days of unemployment. That's the new record. I think nothing's gonna beat that, honestly. But nothing's gonna beat that. Nothing's gonna beat that. That gap between jobs. Like, the only reason why I'm so happy is like God, like decoded, like gave me a message this entire time you working there. All right. So it's like, okay, my child, like when I was doing Uber, when I first came down here, it was like God was like, my child, my son or whatever, the winter is coming. I need you to work. So you fill out this application. So God did whatever, whatever magic he did. FedEx warehouse called me. I worked for them a year. He realized I was struggling during there and all. God realized I was struggling, and then, but also what did it is God saw that I was getting too comfortable with $250 paychecks. He said I was getting way too comfortable for that. So, way too comfortable with that. And I was, however, he, allowed me to, work around all that for a whole year, $250 paychecks. Yeah. He saw I was getting too comfortable with that, and he saw that, I was growing tired of it too on top of that. So, because of my upper management and all, those sort managers or area managers or whatever, my managers, they was being such, man, I really did not like them. But, and then the attendance policy, how strict. I don't understand how in the world I understand, yes, it's a warehouse, blah blah blah, but at the same time, how in the world you have such an attendance policy that's so, you have such a strict attendance policy for $250, and you are pushing me to work harder and faster and push heavy ass boxes. Like, I don't understand that. And I really dealt with that for $250 for a whole entire year. I really did that. So God cut that out. God cut that off. He cut that off. And I knew, don't get me wrong, I should have been working my days. All right? I knew eventually they was going to call me about me calling off 3 times per month, every month. Yeah, I knew eventually they wasn't going to do that. I didn't expect them to do it like, I would expect they would have, done it like, I don't know, by the I don't know, the 4th month. But a whole year I've been doing this, all right? Like 50-50 accident, 50% accident, 50% on purpose, all right? But yeah, so, there's that part, I expected FedEx warehouse to, talk to me about my attendance sooner than later, but it took them a whole year to do this. So yeah, and like I said, what made it personal was when that person on the phone told me, it's not that hard to get here. You must work your shifts. I'm like, yes it is. Yes it is. 1, I don't have a car, and 2, I'm injured, all right? And he's like, well, okay, well, it's important. He just completely ignored what I have to say, all right? Yes, I do agree I should have worked more, worked my shifts, but I'm just saying, I don't want to talk about them no more. So yeah, I don't want to talk about them, but the point is, God saw that I was getting too comfortable. He saw I got too comfortable for less and everything. So, and then I was getting hurt in the process. So God just shut that out. So I believe them calling me about my attendance, about threatening to fire me, was an act of the Lord, was an act of God, of the Holy Spirit, protecting me from my physical health and my own sanity and my growth. So them threatening to fire me, them calling me, I think to me was an act of God. An act of God to push me to do better. And I'll even take it even a step further. My emotions, God knows how it is, how I am. And this built up energy of me being sick of FedEx warehouse. So God just used my energy and said, you know what, Lord, I quit. I'm sick of them. I'm not spending my 26th birthday there. I quit. So yeah, I worked my week and a half there. I made the video saying I'm quitting that job. And then I really was, I really did indeed. So when I made the final conclusion that I quit my job, the next morning I was filling out a bunch of applications. I received 2 phone calls and 1 interview, and the 1 interview I physically gone to is the interview that is the one that hired me. Yep, I start this Thursday. Be a produce again, all right? And then this is the best part about this, all right? Even though the pay is less than what I was making at FedEx warehouse, I got more hours and I can earn more hours. Better scheduling, easier work, and yeah, better scheduling, easier work, and more hours. And I went in this situation. I did the math, all right? $18 an hour, FedEx warehouse, $18 an hour for 20 hours, sometimes 17 because I had to call off a lot. $250 to $300 paychecks. $50 an hour for 30 hours. That's around at least $350 to $450. That's a huge increase. That's literally like 5% less than what I was making at my former grocery store job in Georgia. I'm glad this company took me back under their wing. So thank you for that. I got low-key, when I was working at FedEx Warehouse, I felt like I did take them for granted. I took, but I had my reasons to why I had to quit them. All right? I had my reasons why I had to quit, the grocery store job in Georgia. Because, like I said, I was going through a lot of problems with my former modern family at the time. But there's that. But yeah, the Lord literally made a way for me. The good things work for those. Good things work for those that love God. Something like that. You know what I'm saying. But you know the scripture. But yeah, I literally walked by faith. Even though, yes, a lot of this was by my emotions. I'm not gonna lie. I look at the moon, so nice. A lot of this to do, like I said, me quitting this job was definitely a lot of emotions. But this was built up. Don't get me wrong. But I really feel like this was literally an act of God. Literally an act of God. I literally had the faith that I was gonna get a job sooner than later. But then I didn't put a time frame on it because I thought, yes, I was scared. I was scared that I'm gonna be not working. I'm gonna be forced to work Uber Eats in the cold. Yes, it was scary, but God said no. I'm gonna give you something better. You're familiar with the work. You're gonna be returning back to your mental health being good, more money, better hours, better scheduling. You good, my son. That's the message I got from God, pretty much. So yeah, this is a huge miracle. Yes, she was late. She didn't call me on my birthday, but it's cool. I received the best birthday present I had in a while. All right, replacing my shitty ass job at FedEx warehouse. Yeah, that was the best. This is the best birthday present I had in a while. All right, yeah. So yeah, that's the game. In conclusion, I got a new job. This was a huge blessing. It was a huge blessing to me. Only 3 days of unemployment. All right, only 3 days of unemployment, and yeah. And I start this Thursday, and that's in 2 days from now. Wednesday, then the day after tomorrow. That's the gambit on. What do y'all think? I got a new job. Like I told y'all, I was not gonna be sitting on my ass doing nothing. All right. Yep, I told y'all. This is literally an act of God to me. So otherwise, this to me was a lot of faith here. All right. Cause like I said, I told you I was afraid that I was gonna be doing Uber, because doing Uber in the cold. I'm not gonna do Uber in the cold. But the point is, I was afraid I wasn't gonna find a job sooner than later. But that's the gambit. So I need to make a thumbnail. So that's the gambit. So otherwise, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.